Hello viewers, welcome back to the Zoological Society of Assam. In this presentation, I will be discussing about Darwinism, a topic from the paper Evolutionary Biology. The learning outcomes will be development of the concept of natural selection, contributions of Darwin, co-discovery of the principle of natural selection, contributions of Wallace, comparative analysis of Darwin-Wallace papers, and conclusion. Let's start with the concept of natural selection. So our understanding of evolution and the natural selection can be directly attributed to two men, Charles Robert Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace. So let's find out about them. So Charles Robert Darwin was born on February 12, 1809 in England. As a young child, Darwin was very interested in all living things. He was an avid reader of nature books and mainly devoted his spare time exploring the fields around his home, collecting plants and insects. In 1831, Darwin set out on a 5-year voyage aboard a ship called the Beagle. The ship sailed to South America to carry out surveying work. And on this journey, Darwin marveled at the remote regions they visited, finding animals of all shapes, sizes, and colors, and also plants and fossils. Then, on September 15, 1835, the Beagle arrived in the Galapagos Islands. And these volcanic islands are located west of Ecuador along the equator in the Pacific Ocean. Here Darwin collected and documented a huge array of species, and on his return home he studied these species and mainly focused on the Galapagos finches, and later developed his theory of natural selection. So after returning from the Galapagos Islands, he studied the finches and also known as the Darwin's finches. So Darwin noted that although the finches were very similar in size and appearance, there were distinct differences in the sizes and shapes of their beaks. And Darwin theorized that the beaks were adaptations that helped each species of finch eat a different type of food, such as seeds, fruits, or insects. Like some finches had stout beaks, and they are specialized for eating seeds, while others were insect specialists. Then Darwin realized that these finches were descendants of single ancestor, and as they dispersed to different islands, the birds had adapted to eat the various foods available on these islands, and therefore it resulted in many different species. Now comes the theory of natural selection. So after studying the Galapagos finches, Darwin developed the theory of natural selection. And this theory is a part of the larger process of evolution. So according to this theory, the fittest animals or plants, those with characteristics best suited to their environment, are more likely to survive and reproduce. And they pass on these desirable characteristics to their offspring, and gradually these features become more common, causing the species to change over time. And if these changes are great enough, they could produce a new species altogether. Now there are some important points in the theory of natural selection. So first is overproduction. So each species produce more offspring than the environment can sustain. Now in this picture you can see a large number of green colored fishes in a pond. So it depicts the overproduction of green colored fishes. The second point is genetic variation. It means the individuals of a population may differ in traits such as size, color, strength, and ability to find food, etc. So, in the same pond where a large number of green fishes were present, due to some genetic variation, a blue colored fish is produced. And this blue color camouflaged with the color of the water in the pond, which is also blue. So the third point is struggle to survive. So individuals must compete with each other for limited resources, unfavorable conditions, and also from harmful predators. So when a predator arrived in the pond, it targeted the green fishes more readily, as they were clearly visible to them. And since the blue fish camouflaged with water, the predator could not recognize them, and so they survived to breed, and also they increased in number. And lastly, differential reproduction. It means individuals having certain traits are more likely to survive and reproduce than the individuals that lack those traits. So we can see that in the same pond there are more blue colored fishes and the number of green colored fishes have reduced or decreased. Because the blue colored fishes had better camouflage, they could protect themselves from the predators, and so they survived and also increased in their number. So over time this blue trait became more frequent in the population. Now comes the contributions of Darwin. It consists of two separate parts. In the first part, Darwin deduced the principle of natural selection, where he mentioned the enormous multiplying power in all animals and also how the number of individuals in a population increases year after year, while the average percentage of each of the inhabitants of a country usually remains constant. Next, he described the relationship between the struggle for existence and the observed variability within interbreeding groups of animals and plants. Then, Darwin also mentioned the struggle among the males in the course of sexual reproduction. So he realized that although natural selection could explain the differences between species, it could not explain the marked differences between males and females of the same species. So he proposed that these characteristics were the result of a secondary mechanism operating alongside natural selection, and he called this mechanism as sexual selection. It's a mechanism of two parts involving physical adaptation in males but also aesthetic sense in females, who in many cases plays a crucial role in selecting males. In the second part of his paper, Darwin described results from animal breeders, where he pointed out that the domestic animal races such as sheep and cattle are the result of artificial selection. Darwin also described the influence of environment on heritable variability, where he compared domestic animals with wild species and referred to information obtained from geology. He stated that in nature we have some slight variation occasionally in all parts, which shows that changed conditions of existence is the main cause of the child not exactly resembling its parents. And in nature, geology shows us what changes have taken place and are taking place. Darwin also introduced the term struggle for life, where the living conditions of the organisms were taken into account. He considered the various methods which living beings follow to obtain food by struggling with other organisms or to escape danger at various times of their life and also to disseminate their eggs or seeds. And in the last paragraph, Darwin introduced the principle of divergence in the origin of species, where he distinguished between varieties, subspecies, and true species. Now comes the co-discovery of the principle of natural selection. So Darwin delayed the publication of his theory for many years. Now why is that? Although we know that Darwin's theory changed the way we look at life on Earth, and his theory also opened people up to the idea that plants and animals had changed in the past and will also continue to change in the future. Despite all this, Darwin knew that his radical ideas would be met with stiff and opposition from the scientific community. Therefore, he delayed publishing them for many years while he assembled a mountain of evidence. He sought the advice of a wide range of people, including Cambridge professors, pig breeders, and also pigeon fanciers. Now, while Darwin was amassing his evidence, he learned that a young naturalist, Alfred Russel Wallace, had developed a theory very similar to his own. And Darwin, being an honest man, offered to send Wallace's ideas to a journal for immediate publication. However, his friends advised that the fairest solution would be a joint announcement. So, in the year 1858, Darwin and Wallace made a joint announcement of their theories to the Linnean Society. In the following year, that is in 1859, Darwin published his theory of evolution with compelling evidences in his book The Origin of Species. The book provoked outrage from some members of the Church of England as it contradicted the belief in divine creation, and he was also accused of blasphemy. But the book was fast becoming a bestseller. A follow-up book, The Descent of Man, was published in 1871, and it was even more controversial as it suggested that humans descended from apes. And despite all these attacks, Darwin's conviction in his theory remained unshaken, and although Darwin's theory has been modified over time, it still remains fundamental to the study of life sciences. Here is a brief introduction of Alfred Russel Wallace. So Wallace was born on January 8, 1823 in USK, now known as Monmouthshire. It was known that after leaving school, he worked at his brother's surveying firm until being hired as a teacher in 1844. And in the same year, he also formed a friendship with another keen naturalist, Henry Walter Bates. Then Bates introduced Wallace to the methods and delights of collecting beetles. 4 years later, Bates and Wallace decided to visit South America. Then in 1848, they arrived in Brazil with the aim of investigating the origin of species. They have spent more than 4 years in Brazil, where they collected specimens in areas previously unexplored by the European naturalists. Then in 1854, Wallace traveled through the Malay archipelago, now Malaysia and Indonesia, where he collected more than thousands of specimens, which also included more than 5,000 species that were new to science. Now, during his journey, Wallace also noticed a distinct pattern in the distribution of animals throughout the archipelago. He proposed an imaginary line known as Wallace's line that marks the boundary between the animal life of the Australian region and that of Asia. This boundary also marks the point where there is a difference in species on either side of the line. To the west of the line, all the species are similar or derived from species that are found on the Asian mainland. And to the east of the line, there are many species of Australian descent. Also, along the line is a mix of the two, where many species are hybrids of the typical Asian species and the more isolated Australian species. Also, the Wallace line theory holds true for both plants and animals, but it is much more distinctive for the animal species than the plants. Now we will see the contributions of Wallace. So in his paper, Wallace wrote that the domesticated animals are not analogous to those varieties that live under natural conditions. According to Wallace, there was a difference between the domestic and the wild animals. And he also mentioned that the two are so much opposed to each other in every circumstance of their existence that what applies to the one is almost sure not to apply to the other. And he also referred the domestic animals as abnormal, irregular, and artificial, and stated that their existence depends altogether on the human care. Next, Wallace pointed out that the life of wild animals is a struggle for existence. So he means that the wild animals have to exert their energies in order to survive from enemies or unfavorable conditions. Wallace introduced his observations and deductions concerning population growth in free-living animals. So he stated that the greater or less fecundity of an animal is often considered to be one of the chief causes of its abundance or scarcity. But considering the facts shows that it has little or nothing to do with the matter. Then he also described the concepts of adaptation and differential survival of favored animals. So he stated that those which are best adapted to obtain a regular supply of food and to defend themselves against the attacks of their enemies or some unfavorable conditions must necessarily obtain and preserve a superiority in population, while those species that lack those power must diminish in numbers and in extreme cases become extinct. He also discussed the subject of biological variability in animal populations, where he stated that most or perhaps all the variations from the typical form of a species must have some definite effect. Then Wallace sharply criticized the concepts of inheritance of acquired characters given by J.B.D. Lamarck. In his paper, Wallace also discussed the example of industrial melanism in the peppered moth, which was experimented by Bernard Kettlewell. In his experiment, Bernard investigated the cause of the appearance of dark-colored moth since Industrial Revolution in England in the 19th century. He conducted his first experiment in 1953 in the polluted woodland of Birmingham, and his second experiment in 1955 in Birmingham as well as in the clean woods of Dorset. He found that the birds selectively prey on peppered moths depending on their body color in relation to their environmental background. So the evolution of a dark-colored body provided a survival advantage in a polluted locality. The study concluded that industrial melanism in moths is the most striking evolutionary phenomenon witnessed in any organism, animal or plant. Now comes the comparative analysis of Darwin-Wallace papers. So after going through the contributions of both Darwin and Wallace, let's find out the important differences between Darwin-Wallace papers. So Wallace emphasized the distinction between domestic and natural varieties. In fact, he regarded domestic animals as abnormal and pointed out that they cannot be regarded as model systems for animals in nature. On the other hand, Darwin stressed the similarities between domestic and natural variants in the construction of his argument. Next, in the paper by Wallace, only animals are cited as examples for the struggle for existence. However, according to Darwin, struggle for existence was for both plants and animals. Wallace stressed competition of animals in relation to environment and between separate species. That is, the struggle against enemies and predators is the decisive process in his paper. However, Darwin emphasized the interspecific competition which was described at length in his book Origin of Species. From the very beginning, Wallace rejected the concept proposed by Lamarck, whereas Darwin throughout his life adhered to the principle of the inheritance of acquired characters. Wallace did not mention the factor time until new varieties of species may occur as a result of the consistent force of natural selection. However, Darwin pointed out the importance of geological time intervals with respect to the origin of new species and referred to thousands or millions of generations. In addition to the natural means of selection, Darwin introduced a second principle, sexual selection. It means the struggle among males for females. This he described at length in his book Origin of Species. However, Wallace did not mention this second kind of selection in his paper. And finally, it should be pointed out that the term natural selection was not used by Wallace but by Darwin, and Wallace introduced the terms adaptation and population in a modern sense. In the conclusion, we can say that even though Darwin and Wallace presented their ideas together, Darwin overshadowed Wallace, and since that time it has usually been his name alone associated with the theory of evolution by natural selection. But Wallace expressed no resentment at this fact, and in fact he was Darwin's greatest fan. Also, Wallace was aware that without Darwin's support he would never have gained entry to the highest ranks of the scientific establishment. A British evolutionist, Dawkins, pointed out that the second man in the shadow of Darwin should no longer be neglected by historians of science. Now we have seen that Wallace contributed to the rise of the new field of evolutionary biology, and therefore he should no longer be regarded as a person second in rank compared to the much more famous Charles Robert Darwin. Dawkins also pointed out that the concept of sexual selection given by Darwin was actually developed by Wallace, as he drew the correct conclusions and his idea was supported by experimental evidence. But at old age, Wallace converted to become a spiritualist, and this behavior took many of his colleagues by surprise. Also, in numerous of his later publications, Wallace mixed up his spiritualistic philosophy with scientific data and considered the evolutionary development of the intelligence of our species as a spiritualistic phenomenon. Despite these non-scientific arguments, Wallace was one of the most original thinkers and a major pioneer of evolutionary biology. So this was all about Darwinism, and here I have recommended few research papers and some links. You can go through them for more information on the same. Here is my email ID. You can contact me for any queries. So thank you for your time and all the best.